Good morning. Welcome and thank you for being here today. It is exciting for us to have all of you with us. My name is Stephen Johnson, the State Treasurer for Kansas, and we're sincerely happy to have you joining us in this partnership to find more ways to help the 5,100 individuals we have on the IDD waitlist. So today we are announcing a formal partnership between our organizations of the Kansas Department for Aging and Disability Services, the Kansas State Treasurer's Office, and the Kansas Council on Developmental Disabilities. So this collaborative outreach is aimed at enhancing the awareness of the Kansas ABLE Savings Plan and getting that word out to members in the intellectual and developmental disability community who are impacted by the IDD waitlist in Kansas. We recognize that these individuals, family members, and caregivers need resources, support, and services while they wait for a home and community-based service waiver, and ABLE accounts are one tool available to the community. So just to be clear, what is ABLE? So going back, the Stephen Beck Jr. Achieving a Better Life Experience, ABLE Act of 2014 created a saving and spending tool designed specifically for people with disabilities. I am taking advantage to read so I say it right and don't go on for 10 minutes to say the basic stuff. Under the ABLE account, individuals spend, save, and invest money while helping them to protect the important benefits of Medicaid and SSI. The landmark ABLE Act has been hailed as the most significant disability rights legislation since the Americans with Disabilities Act of 1990. The Kansas ABLE program currently has 1,821 open accounts with total assets under management of $16.9 million. According to the National Association of State Treasurers ABLE Today data, we have over 158,000 accounts nationwide with just over $1.5 billion in assets. However, there are over 8 million individuals with disabilities eligible to enroll in an ABLE program. Here at home, we do not want the benefits of the Kansas ABLE program to be one of our best kept secrets. We want to ensure that all stakeholders recognize where ABLE can be a vital financial tool to make a difference in an individual's life. We recognize there are many opportunities for Kansans with IDD who are on our wait list to access and utilize ABLE accounts in their daily lives. We also know how hard it can be to navigate all of the information and challenges that come with living with a disability. Through our partnership, KDADS, the State Treasurer's Office, and the Kansas Council on Developmental Disabilities will spearhead a new educational resource set for self-advocates, family members, and caregivers, host a series of webinars for disability stakeholders, including Kansas providers, CDDOs, managed care organizations, and disability organizations, and host a 2024 Kansas ABLE Roadshow across Kansas. And we're looking forward to getting that word out. The Kansas Council on Developmental Disabilities is supporting this effort with a grant to the State Treasurer's Office to support these outreach efforts. So this is actually the big deal, is what that organization has done to enable the rest of us in our mission and your help to get the word out. You'll hear a little bit more about the opportunity grants that are being provided and how we want to make sure we reach people with that. But the way the partnership comes together is at the State Treasurer's Office, we're at kind of the end of the line, setting up the accounts, working with people on what they can do, making sure that any dollars that are available get there from wherever they come. That's our job. KDADS is our network. This is all of our people that we can touch. How do we get that word out? But the catalyst, the special sauce to make this work is the Kansas Council on Developmental Disabilities. Their energy, their vision, their passion, and their financial support is key to help us in that mission, and we're really excited to get to work with everybody there. So, excited to tell you more about that through today. Why are we at the Dole Institute? I think everybody has that down pretty well. But it's great to get to be here with his legacy. Since he became disabled in 1945, was a lifelong advocate, and was noted as the linchpin in passing the Americans with Disabilities Act in 1990. My limited story is I had an opportunity to serve as an intern in Senator Dole's office when he was majority leader. There was the legend of how hard he worked. From when Huck Boyd had driven through Russell and saw the light on in the courthouse, my observation was seeing it not uncommon for him to be on the Senate floor until midnight and up, read several papers, gotten through everything he needed to do at the Hart office, and already out of the office by the time I got there at 7:30. I was in my 20s, and I'm like, how does this guy work this hard? But he was a tireless advocate, and one of the things that he showed among many was that living with a disability did not limit ability. So in that spirit, we are glad to recognize his legacy and bring forth this partnership, make sure that we know where the empowering tool of an ABLE account can help someone with housing expenses, educational expenses, transportation, health, wellness, and others related to a disability. But thank you for being a part of this announcement. Thank you for helping us to get that word out where it needs to get. Thank you to state leaders and disability advocates who can serve that legacy and build our own as we roll out the largest state-coordinated ABLE outreach effort since the launch of the program. So before we hear from my partners, and I have great partners in Secretary Howard and Executive Director Weir, I want to introduce two stars of our show, Patty and Patty Garbath. My apologies. They are from Lenexa and are a couple of our original ABLE account owners. They actually sat around their kitchen tables with Sarah and Tom Tracy in my office going through the process of opening an ABLE account, which is something we want to repeat. But I'm excited to hear your story and how that has impacted lives. Please welcome them to the stage.
I'm Patty Garbath, and this is Patty Garbath.
We're at P Square.
P squared, yes. And we are thrilled to be here to talk about one of our favorite subjects, and that's ABLE. When I first heard about ABLE was from Sarah Hart Weir, and I'm so grateful that I have. Patty can only have $2,000 in her name. People with disabilities can only have $2,000 in their name. If they have 2,001 penny, they lose all their funding, which should not be, because most of these people with disabilities don't know how to handle that $2,000. And I've seen it with some of Patty's friends with Special Olympics. We're there, yep, and I walked into a Special Olympic, and the mother was crying, and I said, "What's wrong?" She said, "Well, my daughter just received $5,000 from her grandmother. We needed a new refrigerator, so we bought a new refrigerator, but the rest went into a checking account, which is a no-no." They lost their funding, which was devastating to them. And it made me realize that when Sarah started with this ABLE account, everybody that has a disability, and we all know somebody, should have a better life with an ABLE account. Now, Patty works at Hen House. How many years?
18 years.
18 years at Hen House. And her check is a direct deposit to her ABLE account, which is thrilling. And she also has a checking that is coordinated with the ABLE savings account. She doesn't spend any. She looks to me, "Mom, are you going to pay for this?" Absolutely. But I have a sense of peace of having this account for Patty. And she has a sense of security for her future with an ABLE account. She can have up to $100,000 tax-free. And when I told her that, I said, "Don't get too excited, kid, because we may not reach that." And she said, "That's okay." And I said, "Man, I'm glad she's named after me, easygoing." But I want to thank Sarah for coming into my home along with Tom Tracy, sitting at my kitchen table literally and starting an Able account for Patty. I know that there are people that have disabilities that we have to reach because they need to have that Able account. We want them to achieve a better life with that Able account. And I know, starting with this and with our Secretary of Treasurer, our Treasurer, Tom Tracy, and with Sarah Hartweir, we will get the news out. Everybody should have an Able account. And what do you think?
That's good.
That's good. Okay.
I'm so excited to be here. Laura Howard, the Secretary for the Kansas Department for Aging and Disability Services. And, first, I just want to thank the collaboration partners, Treasurer Johnson and Executive Director Sarah Hartweir. And I think the Treasurer kind of alluded to this, but I might call it out a little bit even more specifically. I really want to particularly thank Sarah. She really initiated this, really brought the passion and energy to say, I think there's something that we can do together that can really make a difference for people today. And so really, really excited to be here with them. It's not a surprise to anybody in this room that we have a wait list for services on what we call the IDD waiver, the Home and Community-Based Services Waiver for persons with intellectual and developmental disabilities. We serve almost 9,000 people on that waiver, but 5,100 are waiting for those services. And while those individuals may be on a wait list, they have needs today. They have service needs, they have support needs, they may have needs related to education or employment or housing. And those needs don't just come when they get to the top of the waiting list and we say, hey, you can come on the HCBS waiver. So really excited to say that as we collaborate together to get the word out about Able accounts, this is something we can do now. It's not the only thing that we're working on as it relates to wait lists. Many of you may know we're working on a new waiver option. Those things take a lot of time. You've already heard kind of conversation is about bureaucracy. We have to work through federal partners. We have to work through long processes to make those changes, develop those new programs. And we've gotten a lot of support to start down that path, but that's something that takes time. This is something that we can do today and begin today that can really make an impact. As noted earlier, Kansas was one of the first states to pass state legislation for Able accounts after the federal law passed in 2014. But having the law on the books, right, is just that first step. And I think treasurers' offices over the years have done a good job in trying to make people aware of that. We think we can do more, and we think we can make a targeted effort, particularly for those individuals and families who are waiting for those services on the wait list. And many of the services and supports, they're very much the things that we really want to support and focus on at KDADS, whether we're talking about competitive integrated employment, whether we're talking about housing needs, caregiving needs. We just heard from P Squared, and they're a tough act to follow. We heard, Patty's been working at Hen House for 18 years. And we want to really support people with the needs and supports they have. So, we stand here today, and this will be, as we carried out, one of the largest efforts across the country to really make progress on enrollment in Able accounts. But the collaboration is so much bigger than the three of us at the head of our organization. So partly why I stand here today is because I do have those connections to the Disability Network, to our stakeholders, to our providers. If you're a CDDO or connected to one, can you raise your hand if you're here today? I see a few hands from CDDOs. How about any Centers for Independent Living who might be here? Yeah, I see one. There you go, Michael. Any other service providers or case managers or advocacy organizations? Because you maybe didn't know that today, but when you came here to this event today, you really came here today to really get an assignment, because when it really comes down to it, you're the ones who are going to be on the ground as we kick this roadshow off, as we do this education. You're the individuals who interact every day with individuals and family members and can really help us get the word out, help get the education out. You know, it really is that $2,000 piece, right? The fact that you can't have more than $2,000 without losing access to benefits like Medicaid or Social Security. That's what is so powerful about the ABLE accounts, is allowing individuals to be able to save resources, to have those resources for the needs we talked about without impacting eligibility for those benefits. So again, everybody in this room will be instrumental as we carry this forward. I'm just excited to be a part of this first event as we kick off this partnership. So with that, I'll turn this over to Sarah Hart-Weir.
Secretary Howard, thank you for those warm remarks. Treasurer Johnson, thank you for helping host this and kicking us off this afternoon, or morning into the afternoon. But I'm really honored to be here and help also welcome you on behalf of the Kansas Council on Developmental Disabilities as our executive director, along with our amazing team. I'm going to have them all stand. If we could or they might already be standing. Callie in the back, if you haven't met Callie. We have Allison, and our newest addition, who's probably no stranger to most of you, Kathy Keck over here, who played an instrumental role in helping pull off this partnership, and we'll talk about that here momentarily. And then we have a number of our council members with us in the audience. If we could have our council members stand and wave as well. Let's give them a huge round of applause. They too helped make this a reality and bring this partnership forward. As you can all imagine, and I know most of you, I'm kind of overwhelmed with emotion being here at this beautiful location here at the Dole Institute with so many friends, fellow disability advocates, national leaders, our elected officials, and state officials to really gather to mark this historic event. As many of you know, I've been working on the Stephen Beck Jr. Achieving a Better Life Experience Act since 2006. That's a long time. That's 17 years to age me and mark that over the last almost decade and a half. And leading the advocacy effort to help get it passed on Capitol Hill in my prior role at NDSS was really the dream of a lifetime. And like any effort that takes 8 years and 4 Congresses to get done, there was a lot of blood, sweat, and tears put in that effort. But most importantly, it was the personal stories of our self-advocates, our family members, and caregivers. You heard from my friends P Squared. You'll hear from the Millers here momentarily. But to be able to sit around kitchen tables and watch and help families open up their ABLE accounts, it really does come full circle. So we're here to talk about how we can expand this opportunity and this platform to the 5,100 individuals on our IDD waitlist in Kansas who can personally benefit from having an ABLE account day in and day out. And as we talk about that partnership, I did also want to address the Kansas Council's efforts to also put forth solutions that address our growing IDD waitlist. For us, and as we embark on the 2024 legislative session, it will be one of our number one priorities to work with our state officials and our elected officials to address common sense solutions to the growing waitlist, as well as to address the workforce crisis and the caregiver shortage that we're facing in Kansas and really across the nation. Many of you know, here at the Council, we continue to roll up our sleeves and work with our state partners, our fellow disability organizations, our legislature, and our governor, and you all will be part of that process. As you heard from Treasurer Johnson, the ABLE program really is a tremendous resource to help individuals save their own money, avoid what we commonly refer to in the disability community as that SSI monthly spin down challenge. And it allows families to save for the future, just like the Patties just shared. Again, all while maintaining those benefits like Medicaid and SSI. As you'll hear throughout the day, we at the council are really excited to team up with KDADS and the treasurer and his incredible team to offer this creative solution to meet families where they are, all across Kansas, to learn about this game-changing program, the ABLE program, which my colleague and friend Tom will share more about this afternoon. So I wanted to just be brief here because we have more important speakers than me to get to. Many people across Kansas and really across the nation are learning about ABLE for the first time. This idea, a lot like the work that we've done here in Kansas, and my colleague and friend from ABLE Today and NAS will talk about this from a national perspective. This outreach and meeting individuals and families where they are is tremendously important to making them feel like this is a practical solution that they can utilize in their daily life. So ABLE stemmed around a kitchen table conversation back in 2006, where 5 parents that had, at the time, young children with Down syndrome, they were frustrated with the inequities in our system. They had all these tools to save for their children who didn't have disabilities, but as you heard from P Squared, they were disincentivized from saving for their individuals or their loved ones with Down syndrome and other disabilities. So it took 8 years and 4 Congresses to get the ABLE Act passed and put on President Obama's desk on December 19th, 2014. This partnership, thanks to Secretary Howard and Treasurer Johnson and both of your teams, took about 3 months. I look back at this last night. We first met on September 5th, and we're standing here today to help 5,100 individuals and their families and caregivers have this life-changing tool in their lives. So I'm going to stop there, and I'm going to, first, we have 2 special messages from 2 of our dear friends who couldn't be here with us today because they're working hard for us in Washington, D.C. We have both former State Treasurer Ron Estes and former State Treasurer Jake LaTurner, who played pivotal roles in getting the ABLE Act started. They have 2 special messages for us. And then while that is playing, I'm going to welcome another friend and colleague, Lawrence Bofish from Wells Fargo Foundation, to come up to the podium. So enjoy these special messages. Thank you.
Hello, this is Congressman Ron Estes. I'm so pleased that the Kansas Department of Aging and Disability Services, the Kansas State Treasurer, and the Kansas Council on Development Disabilities are hosting this Disability Roundtable today to promote the Kansas ABLE Savings Program. Nearly a decade ago, I was serving as Kansas State Treasurer, advocating for passage of the federal ABLE Act and led the effort to implement it here in Kansas. The Kansas ABLE Act went into effect in January 2017, and I was proud to be part of that effort. This important law created tax-free savings accounts for individuals with disabilities to cover expenses like medical care, education, housing, and transportation. Similar to 529 education savings accounts, health savings accounts, and individual retirement accounts, ABLE accounts give people with disabilities access to the opportunities they deserve. I'm sure so many of us know someone with a disability who enriches our lives and our communities. These Kansans may face adversities, but we are blessed to know them and learn from them. ABLE savings accounts give these friends and family members a financial tool that helps them live their best life. And that's really what the name implies, ABLE, achieving a better life experience. Today's discussion is about collaboration and raising awareness of this vital tool for Kansans with disabilities. I want to thank State Treasurer Johnson and the Kansas agencies involved in promoting the Kansas ABLE Savings Program. Kansans, regardless of their physical abilities, have incredible opportunities in the Sunflower State that are made more accessible by the Kansas ABLE Savings Program.
Hi everyone, it's Jake LaTurner. I'm sorry I can't be with you all today in Lawrence to celebrate and announce this tremendous new outreach initiative for the ABLE program. Trust me when I say I'd much rather be in the Dole Institute than here in Washington. But we have a full plate of issues we are working to address before the end of the year. I want to first congratulate the Kansas Department for Aging and Disability Services, Treasurer Stephen Johnson, who's doing a wonderful job, and the Kansas Council on Developmental Disabilities Executive Director, Sarah Hart-Weir, for their leadership and hard work in launching this new partnership to help provide resources, support, and services to families on the Kansas IDD waitlist. It's fantastic to see that this campaign will be one of the largest in the country, reaching over 5,000 individuals with intellectual and developmental disabilities. Kansas ABLE accounts are so important because they make it possible for folks living with a disability to spend, invest, and save money for the future without jeopardizing their benefits. I was proud to champion the Kansas ABLE program as state treasurer, and I will continue fighting in Congress to expand eligibility and access to these crucial accounts. Congratulations again on this historic effort. Please reach out to my office if you ever need anything from me, and see you all back in Kansas soon. Happy holidays.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Lawrence Bowdish with the Wells Fargo Foundation. I'm going to bring some welcome from my colleagues who couldn't be here. Some of you might know Vianney, who is out in Kansas City. I saw her 5 weeks ago when she was about 35 weeks pregnant. I'll let you do the math. And Pat Green, our GR person for this region, could not get out of Iowa. And I don't know, I think anyone would want to get out of Iowa if they could, but also couldn't be here either. I wasn't sure if I'd be let in to this building or this city. I am the second person in my family to go to college. 85 years ago, my grandfather got a degree in mechanical engineering from a small school about 85 miles west of here. I didn't know if y'all let me in. 20 years ago, I applied to get a PhD here and was rejected. So I didn't know if they'd have my face on a sign outside and say, whatever you do, don't let this guy in. But I snuck past, and here we are. That is not why I'm here. I'm here because the Wells Fargo Foundation really appreciates the impact that ABLE accounts can have on the financial health of those with disabilities. To be clear, I'm here with the foundation. This is a completely philanthropic social impact effort for us. Wells Fargo doesn't manage ABLE accounts. We don't pay people to manage ABLE accounts. We don't hold ABLE accounts as part of the bank. We believe in them primarily as a tool for those with disabilities to improve their financial health. And I could stand here and cite all of the data that everyone in this room probably knows that shows when it comes to financial health and economic outcomes, how far behind people with disabilities are, how far behind they start and finish. You can look at the administrative data from Social Security that shows that those that have a disability before the age of 26 start out behind in the workforce and get farther behind as their careers continue. That's less true for folks that become disabled after the age of 26. And while it's not a complete panacea, ABLE accounts are a fundamental tool that people with disabilities can use and leverage themselves. It allows them to maintain that dignity and independence to take control of their financial lives. What's impactful is that this program can happen anywhere across the country. The work of the ABLE Today team and the other partners you've heard from today is evidence of that. And if you look back at the past decade of ABLE programs, you'll see really strong increases in the amount of folks that have accounts and the assets under management number, the amount of dollars in those accounts. But those steps have been high, but they've been incremental, right? We've seen tens of thousands of people each year across the country adding to these accounts. But as the treasurer said, if we have 8 million people who are eligible for this, we're going to be in Buck Rogers territory, right? Before we end, that's a joke for the old people in the room. We're going to be in Buck Rogers territory before we actually hit the 8 million people that could be eligible for this. And so Wells Fargo Foundation, myself, really proud of the novel partnerships that are happening here in Kansas across your agencies to reach more people that haven't heard about it yet, haven't executed on it, and have not been able to get these benefits. I'm really excited in the coming 1, 2, 3 years to take I'm sorry, I'm from the South, to take your successes and show them to other states we work with and say, hey, Kansas is able to do this. We can do this anywhere because of the success and work that our friends in Kansas have been able to do. So thanks for having me. Thanks for not kicking me out at the door again like you did in 2004. And appreciate you. Have a great day. Thank you.
For those that may not have heard that, she used her tablet to say her name, Lily. Lily enjoys talking with her friends. I've told her that all of you here today are our friends, but she's used to only a few people, so this is a little overwhelming experience. But she would love to say hi to you a little later, I think. Let me introduce my family real quick. First of all, my name is Marvin Miller, and this is my wife, Teresa, and our youngest, Lily. And I just want to take a second to say thank you to Treasurer Steve Johnson, Secretary Laura Howard, and Director Sarah Hart-Weir for inviting us, and to everyone else who has made this day possible as we talk about one of Kansas' best-kept secrets, the ABLE accounts. I'll reiterate, there are a lot of people that have been involved in this. I do want to say special thanks to Tom Tracy, too. It seems like we have something in common with P Squared. He did not come to our house over our kitchen table, but we spent a lot of time on email and telephones making sure our program got in place. And then he came to a group that I lead in our town and talked with other parents as well, probably about a year and a half ago. I am a special education high school teacher involved with transition counseling, and I often get to sit down with students and their families to discuss what their best life looks like, what their good life might be. Many families are not aware of ABLE accounts, and like many are far down on the HCBS waiver wait list, giving up the fight oftentimes towards competitive employment and independence. But I know that independent living and financial planning and full flourishing in community often go hand in hand, and I believe that the ABLE account is one of the tools that can be used to accomplish that. I remember back in 2015 when I saw the news that the first Kansas ABLE account was open. I did not open one then. I probably should have. Several years ago, Lily turned 18, and then SSI money started to come. Over the last few years, we've seen the ABLE account enrollment process streamlined to make it even easier for parents to sign up. And we finally did enroll. I will tell you that before that time, and you've heard this from other people, that it becomes a challenge to try to figure out how to limit her bank balances below the $2,000 threshold. There's only so many amounts of sparkle shoes that you can buy. And we realized that the big ticket items that we might need, some adjustable beds for her back after surgery or a more comfortable wheelchair for long excursions, that was hard to save for. Now we have plenty of options for her to save her SSI monies for her future wants and her big ticket needs. In addition, there's flexibility for her to save earnings from what we anticipate that she will soon have a future job without being subjected to what I call poverty savings. The ABLE account has become a central part of her personal financial portfolio. During her school years, we were able to put a chunk of her SSI money set aside for the future. And of course, she still got a small portion transferred into her daily use debit card so that she could go to her favorite stores like Dollar Tree and Walmart and Target. This past June, Lily aged out of her excellent Project Life school transition program, and this new season of life that we're in now has brought new challenges. We've been on the wait list, for those of you that want to know, 10 years and 8 days. Trying to braid together day programs and transportation and VR, and job coaching and competitive employment, all while trying to keep our own jobs, can become pretty impossible without adequate funding. I mean, we couldn't afford some of these options and these opportunities. So some of these dreams have been put on a temporary pause. And until then, her primary monthly expense has become a monitoring caregiver that costs more than her SSI income. Again, the ABLE account has come to the rescue. We thought we'd use it even more in the future, but we've realized that is helpful now. Because we had placed a good chunk of her SSI money and her checks into the ABLE account over the last few years, she's been able to build up a small fund. And we are using those monies to help supplement her current expenses until the waiver funding comes through. Hopefully, in the near future, that flow will be reversed. She'll be able to find work in a competitive integrated employment. She'll be able to start saving money again and for the things that bring her enjoyment, like Disney vacations and Netflix and art projects. As a parent and as an educator, I've seen firsthand the flexibility and usefulness of the ABLE accounts. I talk to parents all the time, and I encourage parents today and people with disability to seriously explore opening one up. It is a game changer. Thank you for allowing us to be here today.
Good morning. I'm Senator Dinah Sykes, and I represent the 21st Senate District, which is Lenexa, Shawnee, Merriam, and Overland Park, and I am P-Squared's senator, so very proud to highlight them today. And I also have the privilege of serving as the Senate Democratic leader, but thank you for having me. Congratulations to KDADS for this new and wonderful partnership for Kansans with intellectual and developmental disabilities, currently on the IDD wait list. In particular, congratulations to Secretary Howard and State Treasurer Johnson on their work in creating this historic effort. Because of their leadership, over 5,100 Kansans, individuals, families, caregivers in our state will be able to benefit from the ABLE program. The ABLE Act is our most significant disability rights legislation since the passing of the ADA in 1990, which I might add, Senator Bob Dole was instrumental in this passage, so it's very fitting that we are here today at the Dole Institute marking this celebration. While today's announcement is historic, we must keep working. We need to continue to modernize public policies for the IDD community that offer solutions to the challenges that families are facing, and we must address the IDD waitlist situation in Kansas and provide better quality care across every corner of our state. This can only be done when organizations like KCDD partner with our state leaders and elected officials like we're doing today. And Sarah, what you did in 3 months, I am so excited about 2024 at our legislative session. But thank you for letting me be part of this special today, and thank you to everyone who helped make this possible.
Thank you. It's an honor to be here. Thank you to Treasurer Johnson, to Secretary Howard, and Executive Director Sarah Hart-Weir for making this possible. And I'm all about putting people before politics, so I'm going to share a little personal story about involvement with this very special partnership that's being announced today. You heard it was a couple months ago that Director Ware met with the Treasurer Johnson at a location in Johnson County at the Golden Scoop, and with her were, with them were Peyton from the Treasurer's office and Tom Tracy as well, and one of my daughters who's a high school senior and who was interning with the Treasurer for the week. And my daughter was there personally to observe. I wasn't at the meeting, but I stopped by to get a little bit of ice cream and say hello to the Treasurer and his team and my daughter. And so my family has been involved, I guess, since the inception a little bit of this partnership. So thank you for bringing it to fruition, and Charlotte will be pleased to hear that this has come to fruition as well. So I think you all know that the Americans with Disability Act has greatly changed the legal landscape for people with disabilities in the disability community, and we have civic leaders of all stripes coming together to change lives, whether that's from employment opportunities to inclusive playgrounds and to so much more. As a senator, I believe one role of government is to ensure a level playing field by removing unnecessary barriers. That should be done at every level of government, and the state will always play a critical role in making that happen. This ABLE program partnership is part of that. And looking forward, likewise, as my role as chair of the Senate Judiciary Committee, I'm pleased to today announce a legislative initiative for the 2024 session. So in partnership with Treasurer Johnson, we will be proposing and introducing some legislation to make it easier for families and individuals to contribute to their ABLE accounts by extending the deadline for those yearly contributions from December 31st to April 15th. And I assure you, I will work hard to make sure that that becomes a reality. We will, I expect, have some bipartisan support and to make that a reality for Kansans. So today, it's my honor to help announce this historic partnership between KDADS, the Treasurer's Office, and KCDD, and to help honor Bob Dole's legacy by serving families in the IDD community, whether it's through this 2024 proposed legislation or this partnership. So thank you so much for the opportunity to share in today and make a few remarks. Thank you.
I want to again say thank you. Thank you for being here. Thank you for caring. I am honored to get to share the stage with the people who are here. It is an honor to get to be with both Lily and Patty. Thank you for being here, and thank you for helping us find others like Lily and Patty where it can be a useful tool to make life better. It is also great to have these partners. Both Secretary Howard and Executive Director Hart Weir, her name is appropriate, they have a heart for this service and helping us and helping everyone forward. So thank you for helping us in that mission. Let's enjoy lunch and continue the conversation.